Elizabeth is in Kent visiting her dear friend Charlotte, who's now married to Mr. Collins. Surprisingly, Charlotte is quite content in her new home at Hunsford Parsonage, despite her new husband's silliness. Elizabeth has also endured lectures and intrusive questions from Mr. Collins's pompous patroness, Lady Catherine de Bourgh. But how satisfying it was to see Elizabeth ruffling Lady Catherine's feathers with her fearlessness and frank nature. Mind you, Lady Catherine is a walk in the park compared to the drama that's coming Lizzie's way. Stay tuned. Content in his daughter's new circumstances, Sir William Lucas soon leaves Hunsford, and Elizabeth and Charlotte get to spend some quality time together away from Mr. Collins in her drawing room. Hey team, just a reminder, if you like this video, please hit the subscribe button and ring the notification bell. It really helps the channel out, and our next upload could be on something taught in your next class. Thanks, and back to the video. Elizabeth and the Collins usually dine at Rosings twice a week, and Lady Catherine sometimes honours them with a visit in return, although she spends most of the time lecturing them on everything from their furniture arrangement to their housemaids' negligence. Easter is approaching, and Lady Catherine has organised a visit from her favourite nephew, Mr. Darcy, who brings with him Colonel Fitzwilliam, his cousin. Mr. Collins goes to Rosings to pay his respects to the new visitors, who surprise Charlotte and Elizabeth by returning to Hunsford with him. While Fitzwilliam makes pleasant conversation, Darcy is reserved, hardly saying a word. Finally, Darcy asks after Elizabeth's family, and she asks him whether he's seen Jane in London. What Lizzie's trying to figure out is if he's aware of the drama between Jane and the Bingleys. He seems uncomfortable and replies that he hasn't seen her. But is he telling the truth? Colonel Fitzwilliam has a much more pleasant way about him than Darcy, and he and Elizabeth get on very well. Elizabeth is relieved to finally have entertaining company on their visits to Rosings, speaking with him about travelling, books and music. Feeling left out, Lady Catherine butts into their conversation, and Darcy is embarrassed by his aunt's rudeness. Fitzwilliam asks Elizabeth to play the piano, and when she does, Darcy approaches and stands close by. She playfully accuses him of trying to intimidate her into playing badly. After some verbal jousting between them, Colonel Fitzwilliam asks Elizabeth about Darcy's reputation. She tells of Darcy's poor form at the Meryton ball, hardly dancing despite many ladies needing partners. Darcy replies that socialising with strangers isn't his strong suit. Elizabeth smiles and suggests, like her with the piano, he might become better at it if only he practised. But Darcy is ready with a smart reply, saying that neither of them performs for strangers. Once again, Lady Catherine demands to join the conversation and praises her daughter Anne's musical potential to Darcy, if she were healthy, that is. Despite Lady Catherine's hinting, Elizabeth notices that Darcy doesn't seem the slightest bit interested in Anne. No doubt Bingley's sister Caroline would be thrilled to know this. The following morning, Elizabeth is home alone and hears the doorbell ring. Expecting to see Lady Catherine, she's stunned to see Mr. Darcy enter the room, and he's just as surprised to find her alone. Awkward. After some stilted small talk, Elizabeth asks Darcy about his and Bingley's departure from Netherfield. Darcy suggests that Bingley is likely to remain in London, where his friends and connections are. When Charlotte returns, Darcy makes a hasty exit, and Charlotte tells Elizabeth that there's only one explanation for his awkward visit. He's in love with her. Elizabeth denies this. He probably just got sick of spending time with Lady Catherine. Fitzwilliam and Darcy continue to visit Hunsford, but Darcy is cold and reserved, and Charlotte starts to wonder if Fitzwilliam could be the one who's in love with Elizabeth. But on Elizabeth's walks in Rosings Parklands, she weirdly keeps running into Darcy. She even tells him that it's her favourite route, hoping he'll get the hint. But it keeps happening. Elizabeth reasons that either Darcy is doing it deliberately to spite her, or he's forcing himself to be nice for some reason. Talk about a good walk spoiled. Then, on another occasion, Elizabeth runs into Colonel Fitzwilliam. As they walk, he tells her how Darcy recently saved his friend Bingley from an unwise marriage. Clearly, Fitzwilliam is oblivious to Elizabeth's connection to the unsuitable woman, her lovely, innocent sister Jane. Elizabeth silently burns with rage. It was Darcy who broke them up. He blasted Jane's happiness. He must want Bingley to marry Georgiana instead. She festers on Darcy's toxic pride and the damage he's done to sweet Jane. She ends up giving herself a headache and is too unwell to dine at Rosings that night. Mr. Collins isn't pleased. Later that evening, while alone, Elizabeth is utterly surprised when Darcy pays her a visit. He hurries in, seeming genuinely concerned about her being ill. Then, after a few minutes of tense silence, he suddenly begins to blurt out his love for her. Wait, what? Elizabeth is gobsmacked, but her surprise soon turns to anger when Darcy explains how his love overcame his disdain towards her family's inferiority. Aside from this insult, Elizabeth is also provoked by how obvious it is that he expects her to say yes. Darcy is shocked and angered when she flatly refuses him. He seeks an explanation and accuses her of being rude. Elizabeth retorts that when it comes to rudeness, he started it. And besides, why should she marry someone who ruined her sister's happiness, or that of Wickham? With voices and tempers raised to a fever pitch, Darcy defends himself and his decision to break up Bingley and Jane. Plus, did she expect him to be happy about loving or marrying someone below his own rank? Elizabeth tells him in no uncertain terms he is the last man on earth she would ever want to marry. Hurt and astonished by this, Darcy leaves with a bitter wish for her health and happiness. Well, that was a train wreck. Elizabeth is left reeling and in tears. Not wanting to let Charlotte see her in this state, she retreats to her room at the sound of Lady Catherine's carriage approaching. The next morning, Elizabeth is haunted by the events of the night before. She takes a walk in the park to relax, only to find Darcy waiting for her with a letter of explanation. In his letter, Darcy explains his interference with Jane and Bingley. He knew Bingley's feelings for Jane, but her reserved behaviour towards him revealed little affection on her part. This made Darcy think it was unwise for Bingley to love Jane, not to mention the Bennets' low standing and lack of manners. Not only did Darcy encourage Bingley to forget about Jane, but he also contrived to prevent him from finding out that Jane was in London. This was done with the help of Bingley's sisters, of course. He explains that he did all of this with the best of intentions, and he regrets that Jane was hurt. But this pales in comparison to the issue of Wickham. So, here are the facts. After Darcy's father died, instead of joining the clergy, Wickham asked Darcy for a lump sum of inheritance money. Darcy agreed, thereby discharging his duty, and Wickham ended up wasting it all. He then crawled to Darcy for more money and became furious when he refused. Broke and seeking revenge, Wickham seized an opportunity with Darcy's younger sister, Georgiana. Knowing she had a fortune of £30,000, Wickham charmed the naive 15-year-old Georgiana into eloping with him. But Georgiana owned up to it, and Darcy intervened just in time to protect his sister's reputation and fortune. He sent Wickham away and has kept the secret ever since. If Elizabeth is still in doubt, he invites her to confirm his story with Colonel Fitzwilliam. He helps Darcy care for Georgiana and knows the details of the entire ordeal. Whoa! What a bombshell! What will be the fallout of Darcy's disastrous proposal? And how will Elizabeth respond to the stunning revelations in his letter? Stay tuned to find out. We hope you enjoyed this Schooling Online production. For more easy lessons, check out our other videos.